All right, let's dive into one of the most incredible stories in modern technology, the ridiculously fast evolution of DeepMind's game-playing AI. And you're going to see, this was never just about winning games, it was about completely changing how we think machines can learn.
So let me start by throwing a question at you, because it's really the heart of this whole thing. What if an AI could walk up to a game it's never seen and figure out how to dominate it, without a single person ever giving it the rulebook? Just keep that idea in the back of your mind.
To really get why that question is so huge, our story has to begin with what was once called the Mount Everest of AI, the ancient, beautiful game of Go.
So, why was Go such a big deal? I mean, we had computers that could beat grandmasters at chess for decades. Well, Go is a whole different beast. It's played on this massive 19 by 19 grid. The goal sounds simple, just grab more territory than your opponent, but the number of possible moves, the number of possible games, is literally greater than the number of atoms in the known universe. No joke. It's a game of intuition, of feeling, a place where human creativity was supposed to be completely safe from brute force computers.
And then came the first breakthrough, AlphaGo. In 2015, it did what everyone thought was impossible and beat a human world champion. But the really important part is how it learned. The best way to think about AlphaGo is as a brilliant student. It just devoured this massive library of games played by human masters, learning to copy our best strategies and then, get a little bit better.
But see, there's a big problem with being a brilliant student. You can only ever be as good as your teachers. If you want to get to superhuman levels of skill, you have to break free from what humans already know, and that set the stage for the first massive leap forward.
And this right here shows you the night and day difference. On the left, you've got AlphaGo, the student, but on the right, AlphaGo Zero. This was the self-taught prodigy. Instead of studying human games, it was just given the absolute basic rules of Go and was told, go play against yourself, over and over and over again. It basically locked itself in a digital room to become a grandmaster completely on its own terms.
And this is the engine behind its genius, the self-play loop. It's this incredible feedback mechanism. The AI plays a game against an exact copy of itself. When it's over, it looks at what happened, and it updates its own brain, basically saying, okay, the moves that led to the win, those were good. Let's do more of that. It became its own teacher and its toughest opponent, discovering millennia of human strategy and then inventing new ones, all in just a few days.
So what was the result? Well, after just 3 days of teaching itself, AlphaGo Zero played against the version of AlphaGo that beat the human world champion. The final score was 100 games to 0. It wasn't even a contest. It achieved total, complete dominance by coming up with strategies that no human had ever even thought of.
Okay, so DeepMind had built a superhuman Go player, an absolute monster. But it was only a Go player, a one-trick pony, right? The next big question was, could you generalize this genius? Could a single algorithm learn to master more than just one game?
And you can just see how insane the pace of innovation was on this timeline. 2015, AlphaGo learns from us. Just 2 years later, in 2017, AlphaGo Zero teaches itself. And then later that same year, they roll out AlphaZero. It used the exact same self-play idea to master not just Go, but also chess and shogi, becoming the best player in the world at all three just hours after being introduced to them. This was a massive step towards a general intelligence. But there was still one huge fundamental limitation which set the stage for the final act.
And that brings us to the main event, the climax of this whole story, MuZero. This is where the AI takes its final and honestly its most profound leap by finally getting rid of the one crutch that all of its predecessors relied on.
Because here's the thing, even the incredible AlphaZero had to be handed a perfect rulebook. It needed a perfect simulation of the game, an oracle that could tell it exactly what moves were legal and what the outcome of any move would be. But in the messy real world, we almost never have a perfect rulebook, right?
MuZero changes everything. It doesn't get a rulebook. It learns the rules for itself, just by trying things out. Imagine trying a move, seeing what happens, and slowly building an internal model of how that world works. It figures out the dynamics. When I do this, what usually happens next? And then it uses that self-taught model of the world to plan its path to victory.
I mean, listen to how the researchers themselves put it. This ability to learn the hidden dynamics of a system without being told, that's what gives MuZero its incredible adaptability and power. It's a gigantic leap towards a kind of general AI that can actually tackle complex, real-world problems.
And its performance was just stunning. It matched or even surpassed all the previous versions at Go, chess, and shogi. But then it took that exact same algorithm and unleashed it on 57 completely different Atari games, all that chaotic pixelated action, and achieved superhuman performance across the board, all from a starting point of knowing absolutely nothing.
So, who cares, right? Why does any of this matter? Was the whole point of this multi-million-dollar research effort just to build the world's greatest Pac-Man player? Of course not. The games, they were just the training ground. Now we get to the real payoff.
The true goal, the whole time, was to build these general-purpose algorithms. Games were the perfect sandbox because they have clear rules and objectives. But the prize was always the ability to learn the rules of any system. And the tools forged in that digital sandbox are now being used on problems way, way more important than any game.
And this isn't science fiction, this is happening right now. The core ideas behind MuZero have been adapted to optimize YouTube's video compression, which saves a massive amount of energy. A successor called AlphaDev found brand new, faster ways to sort data, algorithms that are now used billions of times every single day. And, most famously, AlphaFold used these very same principles to solve a 50-year grand challenge in biology, predicting how proteins fold. By learning the fundamental rules of physics that govern life, it is revolutionizing drug discovery.
Which brings us right back to that first question. We asked, what would happen if an AI could win a game without knowing the rules? And now we know. So the real question, the one we're left with, is this. When an AI can discover the hidden rules of any system, from video data to computer code to the very building blocks of life itself, what grand challenges will it solve for us next?